Hello, hello. Welcome to Healthy Perspectives, a podcast that takes on current cultural and social issues through a clinical lens. Hello, hello. All right, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. For those of you who are brand new, I appreciate your time. We know that you have a lot of choices out there. There's everybody and their brother and sister who does a podcast these days, and that's fine. I'm all good with that. I think it's actually good that we get all these opinions, conversations, thoughts. Think of it like an audio and visual journaling in some ways for a lot of people. So I appreciate it. And I'm glad you have stopped by here and you are paying attention to what we're putting together. Our goal here is the same as it was day one. We want to bring up current cultural and context so that we can help you make healthier decisions. And sometimes that means we push you pretty hard. If you go back and you listen to some of the other ones that we've done, there have been some that have really gotten some people riled up at times. Most of them are pretty simple, pretty short. So if you get a chance, go back, take a look. Actually, some of the longer ones are probably the more interesting ones. We got into a little bit more depth. But these short ones, they're good. Today's going to be a little bit short one. Tip of the day today is hitting someone where it hurts will harden them. Okay, that's a no-brainer, obvious, but a lot of my tips that I give you are obvious. In my practice recently, this has been a big topic. Men being rejected. So for today, I want to shout out to pretty much all the women. So I hope you know a woman out there who could benefit from this, because they're the ones who need this information, because the number one group area where men get rejected is by women, which is not good. It is not going to help us stabilize our social settings, our culture, our communities, our countries. It does not help when women are rejecting men. Now, I'm not saying women shouldn't have boundaries. That would be stupid. Of course you should have boundaries. When you've chosen your person, though, and then you start rejecting them, it's just going to harden them. And in the event, let's say, I'll give you an easy example. I work with couples pretty routinely. I have probably maybe 7 or 8 couples on my caseload at the moment. And when I'm working with couples, I often hear that there's an imbalance of, what I want versus what I get. And yes, to some degree, this may be a sexual conversation, but not always. Matter of fact, I'd say about 50-50. It's 50%, it's around sexuality, and about 50%, it's everything else. Because, well, that's the way it works for a lot of men. So do what you want with that as well. We could have that conversation later in more depth. But when women choose a man and a man goes all in, exclusive, you're my person, and then starts dealing with rejection, not just sexually, but rejection morally, rejection relationally, rejection, of like what you want to watch, or like all these areas. And it's just and a guy starts dealing with rejection after rejection after rejection. They will get disgruntled. They will get hardened. That's just the way it is. Men suck at being rejected as a whole. Now, this is not exclusive to only men or all men, but holy smokes, it's a big deal. All right. Most men do not handle rejection very well. And even the ones that handle it maturely, you're risking something that is really difficult for all of us. I'll give you an example. If men continue to be rejected, there's really only a couple of paths they tend to go down. They get hardened and they become relentlessly focused on changing the injustice. In other words, the ones rejecting them become the targets of their much more mature version of fixing the problem. Let me rephrase that. A mature man will see the injustice of rejection, repeated rejection. And for instance, if they're getting rejected by women in general, they will clump it together and find a way to target women and the way that they are treating the men. Or they will, if they're getting rejected by employers, they will target big employment companies or employers, and that they will attack that injustice relentlessly. Or in the worst case scenarios, and a lot of men are probably getting close to this, unfortunately, based on what I'm hearing in my practice, they'll get dangerously vengeful. They'll get a case of the effets. Effet. And they can get very aggressive. Now, this isn't just me talking, folks. I like to bring you a little bit of information. So let's talk information. Right now, globally, for every 100 women, there is 102 men. Pretty balanced, we would think. There is what appears to be, now this is not like hard and fast, it's going to be this way. There tends to be a tipping point around 107 men to 100 women, at which we almost inevitably will encounter a major global, or how do we say it, a realignment of the ratio. War is primarily how that comes out. War. So we look at it and go, there's 102 men to 100 women. How fast has that been changing? Well, not super fast, but also not super slow. And here's the most frightening part, folks. The place it's changing the most is the area where we're most at risk. Ages 15 to 30. The male to female ratio, ages 15 to 30, 105.1. I believe, something like that, right around there. To 100. 100, so let's call it 105 to 100. That's dangerously close. And by the way, what that means is those younger and those older are not taken into that data set. But that just means we're getting dangerously close, because as people die off, and we know men die younger than women, so they're the top end is gonna come down. We're gonna get there much, much faster. Okay. Now the risk there is, we like I extrapolated from the psychological out to the cultural. I know it sounded like a big leap, but I wanted to plant the seed that what I'm bringing to you today is very, very important to consider. There are 4 categories that I personally, in my practice, in my sitting with clients day in and day out, and I see a lot of clients every week. Okay. When I'm sitting with clients day in and day out, there's 4 areas that I have noticed over the last, 6 months to a year, probably closer to a year, that men are being rejected. Number 1 is by women. And it's by women that they have chosen. That would be people that they want to be in relationships with, whether that's a spouse, a girlfriend, a friend, whatever. They're getting rejected also by places of employment, which I also brought up a minute ago. They're getting rejected by schools. It is getting harder and harder for men to get the degrees that they used to get. And more men are getting hardened and saying, well, screw it. I guess I don't need a degree. Great. It makes more room for women. That's what we could say. I have 2 daughters. That's exciting for me. No, I'm not excited, Because as a social science guy, as a psychological science guy, as a culturally aware person, I see that as a huge detriment to our future 50 to 100 years from now. Huge detriment. We want men and women to feel welcomed, accepted into academic settings. Because if we dumb down our nation, if we dumb down our world, we will all lose. We don't want to dumb it down. It makes it harder for a man to be accepted by a woman if he doesn't have some amount of intellectual prowess. And men are beginning to be hardened to the point that they're getting a case of the effort saying, I don't need school. And then women are starting to move in the direction of, I want a smart guy. So I want somebody who's in school, but then they're being rejected by the schools. If you can't see that problem, you're not paying attention. That is going to come back to bite us. I'm not saying you got to open it all up for men. Qualified, capable men, absolutely. But not all men. Absolutely not. Because there is some, y'all have probably heard this term being floated out there, meritocracy, right? We got to be careful with it. And maybe I'll do a podcast on this in the near future, but it's socially unhealthy because it creates transactional natures. But in terms of things like academics, it's super wise, career-wise, super wise. We want the best of the best in the fields where they're the best. We don't want to force the best to go to these other professions where they can do it, but they're not going to be the best and they're not going to be fulfilled. And our world is going to suffer as a result. Not cool. So there's a merit-based balance to it, but we absolutely should get back to encouraging people to continue their studies. Now, sidebar, do you have to go to a university to be intellectually advanced? No, you do not. We have got many examples of people who did not go to college and did just fine. Your opportunities may be a little bit more efficient, maybe a higher percentage, a greater opportunity for you to have more impact and success if you go to college. But if the colleges don't get their crap together, which you can listen to in a different podcast, that's going to be null and void as well. Okay. Moving on. All the ladies, here's what I want you to hear. So this is why I wanted you to send it to your friends, in particular to women. Men are very sensitive to rejection. And there's some things that you can do to reject a man without harming them. Men want to be connected just as much as you. I'm talking to women right now. They want to be connected just as much as you. If you tell a man, I want you to check in with me every single day at this time because I want our time. If you make it clear, he's going to want to do that. If he likes you, if he thinks you're a good person, if he loves you, he is going to want to meet your wish. Why would you reject somebody that does that? It's a question you probably need to ask yourself because more and more I'm even hearing women at times, not too many, thank goodness, but I am hearing women brag about it. They're like, it's not a male dominant world. Like, why would you reject the men? If you are that arrogant, you are just as bad as the arrogant men that probably piss you off. And you should stop. And I mean that from a place of love and care. I swear I do. If you know me personally, you know that's true. So no, we should be finding a way to boost each other up and to connect more intimately. Here's part of the rub, women. Men in general have and this is a generalization. This is not across the board. I know there are many exceptions to this, but percentage wise, the vast majority of men are far more driven to physical affection and sexual interaction. Far more driven. There are exceptions. And oftentimes, that's a starting spot for men. I'm trying to help you out here, ladies. I hope you're paying attention. It's a starting spot for men to want to give more into the relationship. Now, that can be manipulated. If you're doing it to manipulate, that's unhealthy. I don't recommend it. Okay. It also puts you in a position where you're going to be, if you're single and you're dating, it puts you in a position where you're going to be more promiscuous. And that's not good, because later on, you'll pay the price for that. That's a different kind of double standard. We all know that one. And I could have a conversation about that at a later date. But I'm specifically trying to help you ladies make it known to your men that they are accepted and not rejected. So here's what I recommend. I'm going to give you a couple of tips. Number one, if a man is flirting with you and they're not flirting with you in the right way and it's bothering you, maybe they're overly focused on, the physical stuff, and you want more playful engagement, but not physical, like romantic or sexual stuff. Tell them that. Be like, look, it's not that I don't want the physical stuff. I just also want to be more accepted as a whole person, which means play. Engage me into the flirting part. Instead of coming up and smacking me on the butt, why don't you engage with me in some humor? Have some intellectual conversation and engage with me that way. Or you tell them what it is that you need without saying no. More often than not, the first thing that comes out is no. And no can come out in many different forms. A lot of times it's by word. You say no. Sometimes it's by action. You'll huff, you'll swipe, you'll be like, not now. That is rejection, ladies. That is your man trying to give you attention. And maybe he sucks at doing it in a good way, and you need to teach him. That is a very likely possibility. I know a lot of men who suck at playful engagement. Teach them what you want without telling them no first. Number two, I would say, is remember that they are designed different than you. If you want them to playfully engage, you're going to have to playfully engage. And sometimes that will lead to romance, and sometimes it won't. Set the tone that both are acceptable, and neither is 100%. You don't have to go either direction 100% of the time. Rejections get a lot easier to manage for most men when they understand it's not a rejection of me, it's a rejection of the timing. I hope that makes sense. That's number two. Number three, when you do need to reject them, because for whatever reason, whatever it is that's on your mind, maybe you just had a rough day. It's perfectly okay to say no in that circumstance, but how you do it matters. check your tone, volume, and cadence, your paraverbals. Check your body language. And check your words. Make sure they are all sending the message. And the message isn't, I'm rejecting you. It's, I had a hard time today, and I need you in a different way. They'll show up for you. A good man is going to show up for you in that moment. Take these, apply them, and let me know how it goes. Send me a note. You got my email. You got every way you want to contact me is available to you. But ladies, I am trying to help you out here because I am hearing this stuff more and more. And I am deeply concerned, not necessarily that we're going to have a big giant war, although, you look at the landscape, it's not inevitable, but it's also not impossible. Okay. But we don't need a bunch of dangerously vengeful men. We don't need a bunch of hardened men who are relentlessly focused on an enemy. Because in the absence of an enemy, they're going to find one or they'll make one. I'm not saying it's right, but it is what will happen. I hope this was helpful. Thank you for joining us. Please like, subscribe, all those things. Send this to your friends and get this to the ladies who need to hear it. If you know a married lady or somebody who's dating and they're constantly rejecting their man, gosh, get them this. Send it to them. Let them know that there is somebody who can help them. That's what we're trying to do. And then don't stop there. Talk to them about it. Please get this stuff out there so people get the help that they need to have a better perspective and a better engagement in the world. Thank you so much, and we'll see you later. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening. We appreciate our audience a lot, so we give you some simple ways to track us down. Please like, subscribe, and follow all the podcasts on different platforms, but you can also email us at healthyperspectives@protonmail.com, or you can check out our website at healthy-perspectives.com/podcast. It's a backward slash. So if you want to go to our landing page, if you go to healthy-perspectives.com, you'll still find us. You just got to click on the podcast button. Thank you so much.